Tonight, the city is quiet. The stones that remember 1,000 footsteps are cool beneath the drifting air, and the river moves with an old, patient music. Somewhere, a lamp burns behind a shutter, and the whisper of a page turning carries through the stillness. We begin in Rome, not the roar of triumph, nor the clang of iron, but Rome as it so often was, a place of work and rest, of bread and conversation, of hopes carried carefully from one day to the next. In this long, gentle journey, we will follow the empire from small beginnings to wide horizons, from wooden huts to marble arches, from the doubts of a young republic to the quiet order of peace, and at last to a twilight that closed like a soft curtain rather than a thunderclap. As you settle in, let your breath slow. The mind can wander safely here. The names and dates are not tests to be passed, but lanterns to guide our steps. If you drift into sleep, the story will keep walking beside you, unhurried, keeping watch. We will listen to the river. We will cross roads pressed flat by a million sandals. We will stand beneath the oculus and watch a column of daylight drift through incense and dust. We will hear the hum of markets, the cadence of prayers, the low talk of soldiers warming their hands over a brazier before a long road. And when the night is over, you may remember a few things, or many things, or only the feeling of being carried gently through time. All are enough. For now, we go to the beginning, to the river, to the hill, to a cluster of fires that would one day call the world to its doorstep. Welcome to History for Sleep, where the past drifts softly into dreams. Do not forget to write out in the comments where you are listening from. I'd love to know in which places around the world I'm helping people sleep even more soundly. Plus, if you like what I do here, subscribe now and let tomorrow's dream begin where this one ends. Chapter 1. From Huts to City, Rome on the Tiber. The river moves slowly tonight. Its surface glimmers like polished bronze beneath the first stars. Along its banks, crickets hum, and the air smells of wet earth and rushes. This is the Tiber, the thread that will weave a city from mud and dream. Long before the empire, before the marble arches and crowds chanting for Caesar, there were huts of wood and thatch on gentle hills. Smoke rose in thin lines to a pale sky, and the people of these hills lived by the rhythm of the river. They fished, traded, and told stories of spirits that guarded each bend in the current. The 7 hills around them, Palatine, Capitoline, Aventine, and their sisters, formed a natural embrace. The river offered water and a path to the sea. The hills offered shelter from floods and raiders. It was as if the land itself had been made for settlement. Archaeologists today find post holes and ashes where those earliest families once cooked their meals. Soft breath, but we do not need science to feel their presence, only imagination. A child laughs by the water, a dog barks, a pot is set to boil. The first city is alive in small sounds. Over time, paths become roads. Shrines appear at crossroads to honor the lairs, the spirits of the place. Trade grows, grain for clay, salt for wool. People from neighboring tribes visit, stay, marry. Rome does not conquer its first citizens, it absorbs them. Among these early neighbors are the Etruscans, mysterious builders from the north. They teach the Romans how to drain swamps, how to shape arches, how to read omens in the flight of birds. From them, Rome learns to look skyward for signs, a habit that will last 1,000 years. The stories say 2 brothers founded this place, Romulus and Remus, nursed by a she-wolf. Perhaps it is only a myth, yet myths carry truth, like a seed carries a tree. They tell us the Romans saw themselves as born of struggle, raised by nature, chosen by fate. When Romulus traced a furrow around his hill to mark the city's boundary, he was drawing more than lines in soil. He was setting intent to build a place where order would stand against chaos. That boundary, called the Pomerium, was both sacred and practical. Inside it lay life and law, outside, the wild. Centuries later, as emperors expanded Rome's walls, the Pomerium was still honored. The city's spirit remained in that first line of earth drawn beneath a setting sun. Listen now to the creak of boats, the chant of workers hauling timber, the quiet ambition that rises with the smoke. This is how greatness begins, not with shouts, but with a steady heartbeat of work and hope. Soft breath. In these early centuries, life was hard yet balanced. Families shared small homes, farmers gathered at markets, elders settled disputes beneath olive trees. And as years turned to centuries, the cluster of villages became one name, one story, one Rome. From humble fires on 7 hills, a light was lit that would one day circle the world. Chapter 2: Kings and the Birth of the Republic. In the old chronicles, 7 kings ruled Rome before freedom took root. Their names are half legend, half memory. Romulus, Numa, Tullus, Ancus, Tarquins. Each adds something to the city: walls, rituals, bridges, laws. Together they turn the village into a state. Numa Pompilius, the second king, teaches the people peace. He sets calendars and sacred days, believing a city must rest as much as it fights. His temples hum with music instead of war. In those quiet years, Romans learn that order itself is holy. Tullus Hostilius revives warfare, and the city learns another lesson: that discipline can turn men into legions. Each king teaches a different virtue, and each leaves behind both stone and story. But power grows restless. By the reign of Tarquinius Superbus, Tarquin the Proud, the crown has grown heavy with cruelty. He rules by fear, and the city trembles under its own weight. Then comes the spark, a crime of arrogance against a noble family, a woman named Lucretia, and an oath sworn in the cold morning, never again a king in Rome. It is 509 BCE. The Romans expel their last monarch and build something new, a republic. Not ruled by one, but by many, not a throne, but a table. 2 consuls replace the king, equal in power, limited in time. The Senate advises, the people assemble. The republic is born not from design, but from balance, a promise to keep ambition and fear in check. Soft pause. Imagine the forum now. No crowns, no robes, only citizens speaking, gesturing, arguing with the energy of newfound freedom. Their voices rise like sparrows at dawn. They debate taxes, wars, roads, justice. Out of noise, a pattern forms. Laws are written on bronze and displayed for all to see, so that no man may pretend ignorance. The 12 tables become the foundation of Roman law, and their spirit will outlive the empire itself. Yet the republic is not peaceful. Freedom breeds debate, debate breeds division. Patricians and plebeians struggle like siblings in the same house, but even their conflict teaches Rome how to compromise, how to reform without breaking. Slowly, institutions grow around that balance: tribunes to defend the poor, censors to guard morality, praetors to judge. The machinery of republican government begins to turn, steady and predictable, like a well-made clock. Outside the city, neighbors watch. Some mock the experiment, others fear it. But Rome does what Rome always will, learns by doing. When raiders come, citizens take up arms themselves. They fight not for a king's glory, but for their own freedom. Each victory adds confidence, and with confidence comes expansion. The Republic pushes outward, first to Latium, then to the Etruscans who once taught them. The teacher falls to the student. But for now, in these early years, the city rests between humility and hope. Fires burn in the Forum. Children sleep beneath new laws. The idea of Rome has changed, no longer a place, but a promise that no single voice shall own the others. Chapter 3. Orders and Offices, How the Republic Worked. The dawn in the Forum comes quietly. Shadows fall long between the columns, and the marble still holds the coolness of night. Vendors unwrap their baskets, a senator straightens his cloak. Another day begins beneath the gaze of the gods and the laws. The Republic was a living rhythm, not one voice, but many, designed to keep itself balanced like a scale. 2 consuls led the state. Each could veto the other, a constant reminder that no man ruled alone. Beneath them sat the Senate, a chamber of memory. Its benches were filled with men who had held office and earned the right to advise. They debated in measured tones, their words recorded, their gestures ritualized by centuries of habit. Outside the Senate's doors waited the assemblies, citizens gathered by tribe and by rank, voting on laws, electing new magistrates. It was a chorus of voices echoing across stone, slow, imperfect, but alive. Imagine the sound. Hundreds speaking at once, the slap of sandals, the scrape of styluses on wax tablets, the sudden hush when a herald raises his hand. The Republic breathes in conversation. Around these hearts were smaller organs, the praetors who judged, the quaestors who kept accounts, the censors who measured conduct and wealth. Each office lasted a single year so that power could never grow roots. Ambition was allowed, even admired, but it had to climb a staircase called the cursus honorum, the course of honors. A man began low and rose step by step, military service, treasury, judgeship, consul. Every promotion demanded patience, alliances, and luck. The poor had champions too. Tribunes of the people could stand before the Senate and cry veto. I forbid it. No guard could touch them. Their bodies were sacred. In that protection lived the Republic's conscience. At times the system quarreled with itself. Wealth sought privilege. Hunger demanded change. Yet through debate, reform, and compromise, Rome learned something precious: how to disagree without dissolving. Pause. Consider how radical this was. Elsewhere, kingdoms bowed to crowns, empires rose and fell on the moods of rulers. But in Rome, authority rested in process, slow, stubborn, and resilient. The Senate could outlive any man. The language of government itself was poetry. Senatus Populusque Romanus, the Senate and the people of Rome, engraved on every banner, every arch, every oath. 4 words that bound patrician and plebeian, soldier and farmer. It is easy, centuries later, to see only the grandeur, but the magic lay in routine, meetings, votes, ledgers, ink. The Republic was bureaucracy sanctified, paperwork as philosophy. And as years turned to decades, that rhythm hardened into identity. Romans began to think of themselves not as subjects, but as participants, citizens, a word that meant both privilege and duty. When wars came, and they always did, the citizens fought for their own laws. Victory, for them, meant preserving a voice. The Republic's machinery turned slowly, endlessly, like the gears of an old clock in a dark room, steady, precise, dependable. soft pause. Soon this mechanism will stretch outward, linking provinces and peoples. But before the reach, there must be the arm, the legions, and the roads that carried them. Chapter 4. Legions and Roads, the Tools of Expansion. Far beyond the city, dust rises on the horizon. A column of men moves in silence, armor dulled to gray, sandals beating rhythm into the earth. These are the legions, Rome's moving cities, order made flesh. Each legion numbers thousands, yet it behaves like one body. Camp, march, build, fight, rest, always the same pattern. Wherever they stop, a small Rome appears overnight, a grid of tents, a ditch, a wall, a gate facing east toward home. Inside, every soldier knows his place. Discipline is comfort, routine is safety. The centurion's staff taps stone, marking cadence even in sleep. Their shields are curved like waves, catching torchlight in soft arcs. Their standards flutter quietly in the wind, eagles of bronze watching the line. For Romans, the legion is not just an army, it is the republic on the move. When they march, they also build. Bridges span rivers, roads cut through forest. What begins as strategy becomes civilization itself. The saying grows, where the legions pass, the world becomes Rome. The first great roads, Via Appia, Via Flaminia, stretch like tendons from the heart of the city. Engineers lay stones with patient precision, a foundation of gravel, a layer of mortar, fitted blocks on top, crowned for rain to run away. Centuries later, those same stones still lie beneath modern tires. You can walk them today and feel the echo of sandals beneath your feet. Along the roads come merchants, letters, priests, ideas. The empire expands not by conquest alone, but by connection. A trader from Spain can speak to a mason from Syria and still call himself Roman. The road is their common tongue. Yet for all their reach, the legions are human. They miss home, count days, carve initials in their shields. In winter camps, they tell stories of families and farms, of vineyards waiting. When they march again, those memories march with them. Some die far from home, their graves marked by simple stones. But the road goes on, and through the centuries, that persistence becomes Rome's secret strength. Not just force, but follow-through. The ability to keep moving, steadily, deliberately, long after others would have stopped. The roads bring wealth. Wealth brings cities. Cities bring order. Every milestone carved with distance to Rome reminds travelers who rule the horizon. Engineers become priests of geometry, measuring by stars, ensuring every line returns to the center. Even now, satellites trace similar paths, circling the same idea, that connection is power. Imagine the night view. 1,000 campfires across Europe, flickering like constellations mirrored on the earth. Each flame a heartbeat of empire, each road a vein carrying life back to the heart. The legions sleep under the open sky. Tomorrow they will move again, east or west, north or south. The direction hardly matters. What matters is motion, the quiet certainty that wherever they go, they carry Rome within them. Behind them, the roads shine faintly in moonlight, still warm from the day's sun. Straight, purposeful, unending. Chapter 5. Carthage and the Punic Wars. Beyond the western sea lies another power, Carthage. Marble shines there too, but it is not Roman marble. It faces the same sun from a different shore, watching the same sea. Two cities, two destinies, both born from trade, both reaching for mastery of the Mediterranean. Rome, the farmers' republic. Carthage, the merchant's empire. For years they coexist, their ships passing like wary birds across the water. But the sea is narrow, and ambition has no shoreline. When Sicily calls for help, both answer, and so begins a struggle that will last more than a century. The First Punic War, wooden ships creaking, rams splitting hulls, the smell of salt and pitch. Rome learns to fight at sea by copying a single captured vessel plank by plank. Soon her carpenters are soldiers, her farmers sailors. At Mylae, at the Aegates Islands, the Republic wins by persistence more than genius. Carthage signs peace but keeps her pride. Across the straits, a young commander watches, Hannibal Barca, son of thunder. As a child, he swears an oath before the gods, never to be a friend of Rome. The Second Punic War begins with that promise. Hannibal leads his army from Spain across rivers, across the Alps, through snow and silence. Elephants lumber like gray mountains, men vanish into the mist. When they emerge into Italy, the Republic trembles. At Trebia, Trasimene, Cannae, Rome bleeds. Whole legions fall, yet the city does not yield. Doors remain unbarred. The Senate meets as usual. A calm defiance replaces victory. For years Hannibal roamed Italy undefeated yet unfinished. He wins battles, not peace. Rome adapts, slow, deliberate, absorbing loss like earth absorbs rain. While Hannibal circles, Roman fleets cut his supplies. Roman generals strike his allies. The Republic waits him out. At last comes Zama, and the mirror turns. Scipio, a Roman of patience and study, meets Hannibal on African soil. Two minds alike, two empires weary. When dust settles, Rome stands, Carthage bows. 50 years of peace follow, brittle as pottery. Carthage recovers, Rome fears recovery. In the Senate, old Cato ends every speech with the same refrain: Carthago delenda est, Carthage must be destroyed. The Third Punic War is short and merciless. Siege, fire, silence. The city burns for 17 days, its ashes mix with salt. A civilization ends not in chaos, but in the whisper of wind through ruins. Rome controls the sea. The Republic now owns Spain, Sicily, North Africa, Greece. Yet victory brings weight. Grain pours in, gold follows, slaves fill the markets. What began as a city of equals now begins to tilt. The legions return home to farms overgrown, to markets they no longer recognize. The Republic has won the world and must learn how to live inside it. Chapter 6. Grain, Glory, and Strain, a Republic under pressure. Rome is rich now. Ships crowd the harbors at Ostia, their holds heavy with grain from Egypt and Sicily. Olive oil, marble, spices, all flow toward the center. In the Forum, marble replaces brick, statues multiply. Senators grow heavier with gold rings. The world feeds Rome. But Rome begins to forget the taste of its own soil. The farmers who once filled her legions return to find their land sold, their fields swallowed by estates run with slave labor. The small voice of the citizen farmer, the backbone of the Republic, grows faint. Among the crowd stand two brothers, Tiberius and Gaius Gracchus, tribunes of the people. They speak softly, but their words cut stone, give the land back. Reform, not revolt. Yet the Senate hears the threat in the plea. The brothers die as martyrs, and with them dies the illusion that all Romans are equal. Still, the city grows. Bread and games keep the poor quiet. Triumphs and villas keep the rich amused. Ambition turns inward. Senators compete for glory as if for air. New generals rise: Marius, the reformer of armies; Sulla, the cold perfectionist. Their soldiers serve not the Senate, but their commander. Loyalty shifts from the Republic to the man who feeds and pays. The Republic cracks but does not yet break. Each crisis finds a patch, each wound a bandage. Dictators are appointed, then dismissed. Laws are rewritten. Tradition stretches like leather, old, strong but thinning. The provinces thrive even as politics rot. Merchants in Gaul, farmers in Africa, craftsmen in Greece, all call themselves Roman. The empire is already born. It simply lacks the name. In the streets, the contrast sharpens. Slaves in chains beside marble fountains. Senators in silk beside starving crowds. The Republic's dream of shared virtue becomes theater, performed, not lived. Yet amid decay there is still light. Architects shaping domes, poets reciting beneath olive trees, philosophers teaching patience. Even decline in Rome carries dignity. The grain fleets keep arriving. The city cannot stop eating. The world cannot stop supplying. Every loaf of bread on a Roman table carries the shadow of a conquered field. A new generation watches. Young Caesar, young Pompey, young Crassus, ambitious, brilliant, restless. The Republic has raised sons it can no longer control. Senators argue by torchlight, unaware that the world outside their marble hall is changing faster than debate can follow. Power gathers in singular hands, quietly, like storm clouds behind a summer sky. And so the Republic stands at twilight, prosperous yet anxious, free yet fragile. Its virtues remain, but their edges blur. The machine that once balanced ambition now trembles under its weight. For centuries Rome has expanded outward. Soon, ambition will turn inward, and from that inward gaze will come both genius and civil war. The night deepens over the Tiber. Torches burn low. The Republic sleeps uneasily, dreaming of kings it once swore never to have again. Up next, the crossing of the Rubicon, and the man who will test the meaning of Rome itself. Chapter 7. Julius Caesar, Rubicon to Ides. The Republic has grown vast, but its heart beats unevenly. Power leaks from Senate marble into the hands of men who command armies. Among them stands Julius Caesar, clever, patient, and utterly certain that destiny listens when he speaks. He returns from Gaul crowned not with gold but with loyalty. His soldiers adore him. The Senate fears him. Between them flows a narrow river, the Rubicon. To cross it is to choose between obedience and civil war. On a gray dawn he pauses. Water ripples around his boots. Soft pause. Then words quiet as breath. Alea iacta est. The die is cast. He steps forward and Rome changes forever. Armies march through Italy not as invaders, but as citizens returning home. Pompey flees east, the Senate follows. The Republic becomes a memory echoing under the tramp of legions. In the years that follow, Caesar wins not by cruelty but by speed, by charm, by the confidence of inevitability. Pharsalus, Egypt. Alexandria's fires licking the night sky. Cleopatra's voice over still water. Rome becomes a crossroads of continents and hearts. When he returns, the city greets him with laurel and incense. His triumphs stretch for days, yet the applause is mixed. Admiration and unease, love and fear. For Rome has seen kings before and sworn never again. Caesar knows this. He wears no crown, yet each act hints at monarchy, reforms written without debate, statues placed among the gods. To many, he is hope, to others, omen. On the Ides of March, 44 billion CE, spring light pours through the theater of Pompey. Senators approach with greetings that hide daggers. He falls beneath a statue of Pompey, friend turned rival, and the Republic weeps and breathes relief in the same moment. Outside, the crowd waits for news. When they learn it, silence spreads like smoke. The man who had remade the world lies still, and yet his name, whispered in grief and awe, will not die. The Republic had killed its savior, or its successor. In the space between those words, the empire begins. Chapter 8. Augustus, From Ashes to Empire. In the years after Caesar's death, Rome drifts. Power shatters like glass, its pieces cutting everyone who reaches. Armies choose sides, friends become executioners. The Republic dies not once, but many times in the mouths of its defenders. From this confusion rises a quiet figure, Octavian, Caesar's adopted son. Barely 20, pale, deliberate. No thunder, no boasts, just patience and an understanding that noise wins battles, but silence wins eras. He binds his rivals with promises, breaks them with precision. At Actium, sails fill with firelight. Antony and Cleopatra vanish into myth. When the sea calms, Octavian stands alone. In 27 BCE, he takes a new name, Augustus, the revered one, not king, never emperor, at least not in title. He offers the Senate power they no longer possess and keeps the reality himself. The Republic sighs in relief, mistaking stillness for peace. Augustus builds rather than conquers. He restores temples, repairs roads, sets laws, counts citizens. Brick becomes marble, chaos becomes calendar. The city's wounds close beneath fresh stone. Nights in Rome grow quiet again. Bakers light their ovens before dawn. Poets recite to small crowds under lamplight. Soldiers patrol without battle. It is the Pax Romana, the peace of Rome, not absence of war, but rhythm restored. At home, Livia walks beside him, calm and unreadable. Around them gathers a generation of poets, Virgil, Horace, Ovid, each shaping empire into verse. Words become monuments as lasting as arches. Yet even in peace there are shadows. Exiles whisper, moral laws tighten, liberty shrinks politely. Augustus governs like a father who loves control more than freedom. Still, most Romans accept it. After generations of chaos, order feels like grace. He dies at 75, murmuring that he found Rome brick and left it marble. Outside his window, the city hums, indifferent and eternal. His ashes rest by the Tiber, and the empire he built continues to breathe. The Republic is gone, but in its place stands something new, a civilization vast enough to hold both memory and myth. So begins the long calm of the Pax Romana, where everyday life becomes the empire's greatest triumph. Chapter 9, Pax Romana, Everyday Life at Peace. The swords are sheathed now. The empire breathes evenly, like a giant sleeping beneath sunlight. From the coast of Hispania to the sands of Syria, the same coins, the same laws, the same tongue. This is the Pax Romana, the Roman peace, 2 centuries of relative calm, not without storms, but steadied by routine. For most who live within its borders, war is something they hear about, not something they see. Picture an ordinary morning in Rome. The baker's door opens before dawn, heat rolls from the ovens. Children run errands with clay lamps still glowing faintly in their hands. In the forum, merchants arrange stalls of fruit, oil, and scrolls. Voices rise and blend, Latin, Greek, Egyptian, Punic, a low music of commerce. Water murmurs through aqueducts that stride across valleys. Public fountains gush like veins of silver. The smell of bread and wet stone fills the air. Citizens gather in bathhouses, temples of cleanliness and conversation. Steam clouds marble halls. Wax tablets pass from hand to hand. Politics dissolves into laughter. In a corner, an old soldier tells stories to a child who only half believes them. In the countryside, farmers prune vines in ordered rows. Their fields stretch beneath a disciplined sky. Grain ships glide down the Tiber toward hungry cities. Along the coast, fishermen mend nets while poets write about heroes who have already turned to dust. The empire connects them all. Roads thread provinces together. Couriers ride day and night with messages sealed in wax and dust. A traveler can cross thousands of miles and find the same milestones, the same smell of olive oil burning in lamps. Domestic life follows quiet rhythms. Families dine by lamplight, reclining on couches, passing bowls of figs and honey. Mothers whisper charms to sleeping infants. The world outside their doors is vast, but their hearts belong to small circles of warmth. For slaves, life is different, a spectrum of burdens and chances. Some toil in mines, others manage households or tutor noble children. A few earn freedom and become Roman citizens. Even in this peace, inequality hums beneath the surface like a hidden drum. Still, for most, these are good years. Temples shine, grain is plentiful, roads are safe. The empire hums like a well-kept machine, tended by governors, tax collectors, engineers. Yet every piece hides tension. The army still stands ready, 30 legions watching the frontiers. In distant camps, soldiers trace the same stars as their families in Rome. Each night they look north or east or toward home, believing their vigilance holds the world together. The empire's greatness is not thunder but pulse, a steady heartbeat that reaches from deserts to forests. Life continues, quiet and vast. Chapter 10: Gods, Festivals, and the Roman Calendar. Every day in Rome begins with a nod to the divine. No act, no meal, no law is complete without ritual. The gods are everywhere, in kitchens, doorways, marketplaces, crossroads. The Roman world is crowded with spirits, each one a thread in the city's invisible fabric. On the hearth burns the flame of Vesta, goddess of home. In temples stand the shapes of Jupiter Optimus Maximus, Juno Regina, Mars the Avenger. But there are smaller guardians too, lairs and peanuts watching over walls and bread. Religion is less belief than habit, an exchange of respect between mortal and divine. The calendar itself is sacred. Each month carries its gods, each day its omens. Festivals mark the turning of seasons, a year measured not by numbers, but by celebrations. In February, fires are cleansed and marriages blessed. In March, war drums echo for Mars Gradavis. April brings garlands for Venus, the scent of roses drifting through courtyards. In December comes Saturnalia, a carnival of reversal. Masters serve slaves, dice clatter on marble, laughter replaces order. Candles are lit for Sol Invictus, the unconquered sun, as the year's longest night begins to shorten. Festivals weave the empire together. In Britain, soldiers pour wine to Jupiter beneath gray skies. In Africa, farmers thank the same god beneath fierce sun. The rituals differ, but the intention is shared, gratitude for balance. Even the calendar reforms echo faith. Julius Caesar, and later Augustus, align months with the stars. July and August bear their names, tiny eternities carved into time. At every ceremony, music and color soften stone into celebration. Priests in white, victims crowned with flowers, incense rising like a gentle fog. Children watch wide-eyed as augurs read patterns in the sky. To modern eyes, these rituals might seem superstition, but to Rome they are architecture, invisible columns holding society upright. To honor the gods is to keep the world in tune. When crops fail, prayers multiply. When thunder rolls, crowds look upward with awe rather than fear. The divine is close, intimate, woven into daily breath. At night, after feasts and dances, the city exhales. Lamps flicker along streets, offerings of bread and wine cool before household altars. The gods sleep lightly, the people dream peacefully beneath their watch, and in the quiet that follows celebration, the rhythm of Rome returns, measured, certain, eternal. Chapter 11. Frontiers and Ruins. Britain to the east. The empire now stretches farther than imagination. From misty forests in the north to golden deserts in the east, the same eagles glimmer on standards, the same laws written on tablets. To the north, beyond green hills and gray skies, lies Britain, a province at the world's edge. Here, rain softens everything, voices, colors, tempers. Soldiers build forts of stone and turf, calling them home for decades. When fog rises from the moors, it feels as if the gods themselves breathe through the land. Hadrian's wall climbs the hills, mile after mile, marking the limit of Rome. Torches flicker in the watchtowers, the wind hums through arrow slits. Beyond the wall, live tribes with strange tattoos and older gods. The soldiers wonder whether the world continues past the fog. In their letters, found centuries later, they write of loneliness, of missing Italian wine, of hearing waves that sound like whispers. Yet still they serve, because Rome's promise reaches even here. Pause. To the east, the land opens wide and dry. Syria, Judea, Arabia, a mosaic of tongues and tempers. Caravan bells replace church chimes. Incense burns in markets where Latin mingles with Aramaic and Greek. Here, gods multiply. Philosophies mix like spices. In the desert outposts, legions guard silence itself. They watch the horizon for dust that might be riders. At dusk, the sky turns copper, and the men recite the same oaths whispered in Rome's heart. Between these edges lies the Mediterranean, Rome's private sea, dotted with sails. A Roman could travel its circle and never leave his language. Every harbor mirrors the next: amphitheater, bath, basilica, forum. Yet along the borders, ruins already begin. Abandoned forts swallowed by sand, broken roads overtaken by grass. Empires age quietly. The stones still bear inscriptions, but the voices that read them fade. The frontiers hum like a dream half remembered, the edge between order and the unknown. When night falls, soldiers warm their hands beside small fires and tell stories of Rome as if it were another world. They are right. The capital is distant, but its pulse still reaches them, faint and steady through the miles. We continue, back toward the city, to the marble heart that remembers everything. Chapter 12. Fire, Marble, and Memory, the city itself. The road home ends where it began, on the 7 hills above the Tiber. The empire's capital glows beneath 1,000 lamps. Smoke curls upward from bakeries. Temple bells echo across the river. The city never truly sleeps, it dreams aloud. Walk its streets in imagination. Stone beneath sandals, voices bouncing off walls of travertine. Aqueducts stride over rooftops, carrying mountain water like veins of silver. The air smells of bread, oil, and rain on marble. At the center lies the Forum Romanum, a forest of columns and arches. Every pillar is a memory, Victories, treaties, dedications. Beneath them, the footprints of centuries overlap like waves. To the east, the Colosseum breathes with ghosts. By day it roared, by night it sighs. Torches once circled its rim like a crown of fire. Now the arena stands empty, its stones glowing softly under moonlight, a reminder that even glory must rest. The Pantheon remains whole, its dome a silent eye. Rain falls through its oculus in a single silver thread, pooling on the marble floor like time itself made visible. Step inside and feel the hush. You are beneath the same roof that sheltered emperors and poets, and now, your thoughts. Fire has come often to Rome. In Nero's day, flames devoured streets for 9 nights. Yet from ashes the city always rebuilt, wider avenues, stronger walls, new statues rising from soot. Rome is a phoenix carved in stone. Architects and masons work by lamplight, chiseling stories into cornices. Their mallets ring like heartbeats. Names fade, but their work endures. Even ruin becomes beauty. At sunset, light slides along the Tiber, turning bridges to gold. Citizens linger on steps, watching reflections tremble. Boats drift. Laughter echoes through arches. This, too, is an empire, not conquest, but continuity. In quiet courtyards, old men tell grandchildren of wars long past. The children listen half awake, their minds filling with images they will one day call history. Rome teaches them that the past is never gone, it only changes shape. Marble, fire, memory. These are the city's elements. Each rebuilds the other. As you walk away, the streets still hum behind you, eternal and unfinished. We continue to the storm that waits beyond peace and the centuries that will test the empire's endurance. Chapter 13. Crisis and Recovery. The 3rd century storm. The calm of the empire never lasts forever. By the 3rd century after Christ, the sky above Rome began to flicker. The Pax Romana falters, the great machine stutters. In a single lifetime, emperors rise and fall like passing clouds. Soldiers proclaim one today, another tomorrow. 20 men have worn purple in 50 years. Each promises safety, each disappears into the noise. Along the frontiers, tribes press harder. To the north, Goths and Franks cross the Rhine. To the east, Persian kings test old borders. Armies that once guarded peace now chase survival. Inside, the weight of wealth becomes sickness. Coinage thins, silver fades to copper. Prices twist upward like smoke. Merchants hoard, farmers hide their harvest, and the markets echo with worry. Plague follows war. Unseen, unstoppable, the air thickens with mourning. Whole villages vanish quietly. Even the marble of temples seems tired. Yet the empire does not collapse, it bends. From the east rises a soldier of rare discipline, Aurelian. He gathers broken legions, reins the provinces back into orbit, and rides the length of the empire like a surgeon stitching wounds. For a moment, order returns. Then comes Diocletian, planner, builder, reformer. He sees that one man can no longer hold such a vast realm. He divides power in 2, east and west, 2 emperors, 2 hearts. The tetrarchy is born. In his system, titles multiply, Augustus and Caesar, prefect and vicar. Each link another thread in the web of control. Laws are codified, taxes regularized, borders fortified. For a while the storm quiets. But storms return. Each fix breeds new strain. Each wall invites new siege. The empire survives not through triumph but through endurance, like a candle burning slower rather than brighter. In the provinces, life adapts. Farmers trade coins for obligation. Peasants become coloni, bound to the land. Cities shrink inward behind walls. Yet art persists. Mosaics gleam. Hymns are written. Stories continue. Civilization refuses to forget itself. Historians will call it decline, but decline can be gentle, a long evening rather than sudden dark. Rome is learning how to age, and in that twilight, another change approaches, not of swords, but of souls. Chapter 14. Constantine and the Christian Empire. The sun rises over the Balkans, and a young general named Constantine lifts his eyes to the sky. Above him, legend says, a sign blazes, a cross of light, and words in this sign, conquer. Whether miracle or moment of courage, he carries the vision into battle at the Milvian Bridge. The Tiber runs red, and Constantine rides into Rome not only victorious but changed. In 313, he issued the Edict of Milan, granting freedom of worship. The persecutions end. The once hunted faith steps blinking into daylight. Catacombs empty, crosses rise. The empire inhales a new language of devotion. Constantine builds churches where temples once stood, vast airy spaces filled with song instead of incense smoke. At the edge of the old world, on the straits between continents, he founds a new capital, Constantinople, the city of his name, a bridge between Rome and eternity. The empire shifts eastward, chasing sunrise. Greek replaces Latin in the markets. Mosaics shimmer where marble once ruled. Faith becomes architecture. In the west, the old city watches, uncertain. The Senate still debates. The amphitheaters still echo. But something essential has turned inward. Rome is no longer just walls and armies. It is an idea carried in scripture, in song and prayer. Constantine rules with patience and paradox, part emperor, part pilgrim. He still calls councils, levies taxes, wages war, yet his mind bends toward heaven. He seeks unity not of territory but of belief. Bishops argue over mysteries, the nature of Christ, the shape of truth, and the emperor listens, mediates, decrees. At Nicaea, creeds are written that will outlast the empire itself. When Constantine dies, the empire is both smaller and larger, smaller in land perhaps, larger in spirit. Christianity, once the whisper of catacombs, now stands beside the throne. Across the provinces, temples become churches, and the calendar fills with saints instead of Caesars. The eagle learns to share its sky with the cross. Yet even this transformation cannot freeze time. New divisions wait beyond the horizon. The empire's story still has centuries to tell. But for tonight, imagine the lamps of Constantinople reflected on the water, a city shimmering between past and promise. The empire has changed its faith, not its desire for meaning. And though old Rome sleeps, her soul wakes again in hymns. Chapter 15. The Western Twilight. The empire that once ruled the world now drifts into the evening. Its banners still wave, its armies still march, but the steps are slower, the gold duller, the voices fewer. By the 5th century, the Western Empire was a mosaic of ghosts. Taxes vanish before they're collected, roads crumble, generals become kings in everything but name. Yet daily life continues, bread baked, children taught, markets opened. Decline is not silence, it is simply the sound of life rearranging. In the fields of Gaul, a farmer still prays to both the old gods and the new. In Rome, senators debate beneath fading frescoes. The aqueducts still hum, though water runs thinner each year. Time slows like a river before winter. From the north come tribes seeking warmth. Goths, Vandals, Lombards, families, not hordes, carrying wagons and songs. They do not see themselves as destroyers. They seek what every person seeks, safety. Rome opens its gates, reluctantly. The world begins to mix. In 410, the unimaginable happened. Alaric's Goths enter Rome. For 3 days the eternal city is plundered, though sparingly compared to legend. The world gasps, the city endures. When the smoke clears, temples still stand, and the Tiber still moves. Later, Vandals cross from Africa, sailing up the same sea Rome once called its own. Their ships carry flame, but also the unbroken rhythm of change. Empires do not die, they molt. By the time the child emperor Romulus Augustus is deposed in 476, few notice. No armies defend the title. No citizens cry out. The West ends not with conquest, but with exhaustion. Yet even in ruin there is grace. The bishops become caretakers of memory. In monasteries, monks copy books by candlelight, Aristotle, Virgil, law codes, letters. Knowledge survives on parchment, while palaces fall to ivy. Outside, barbarians learn to rule and to read. They wear Roman titles, build in Roman style, speak a rough Latin that will become the languages of Europe. The empire dissolves into its descendants. Imagine the city now, smaller, quieter. Grass grows between paving stones. The Colosseum shelters beggars instead of crowds. Doves nest in broken arches. Yet from every ruin rises a strange peace. The people adapt, the world continues. History calls this the fall of Rome, but perhaps it is something gentler, the empire falling asleep, dreaming new dreams through other mouths. Chapter 16. After Rome, what remained? Dawn again. The empire has passed into memory, yet its spirit lingers everywhere. In Europe's valleys, the roads still hold their shape. Stones laid by legion hands guide travelers centuries later. Bridges arch across rivers with the same quiet strength. The pattern of Roman order lives on in silence. In language, too, the echo persists. Latin becomes French and Italian, Spanish and Portuguese, the empire reborn in every sentence. Even words like justice, forum, senate, whisper their origin each time we speak them. In law, Rome endures in thought, property, contract, citizenship, ideas still pulsing beneath modern codes. Every courtroom carries its shadow. In faith, the change begun by Constantine blossoms. Christianity spreads through the ruins like ivy, binding old stones into new cathedrals. The cross replaces the eagle, but both stand for aspiration, the reach beyond the self. Centuries roll forward. The Byzantine East guards what the West forgot. Scholars in Baghdad and Cordoba preserve the texts of Roman science and philosophy. When Europe wakes again in the Renaissance, it finds its reflection waiting in those pages. The empire never truly returns, yet its shape appears in every dream of unity, in charters, parliaments, republics. The idea of citizenship, born by the Tiber, crosses oceans. Walk a modern city and look closely. Grids of streets, arches of stone, domes that open to the sky. Rome sleeps beneath your feet, murmuring through the concrete. Breathe, and still the stories survive, of kings and tribunes, emperors and poets, soldiers and dreamers. They are not lessons to memorize, but lullabies of endurance. Civilizations rise and fall, but meaning drifts onward, patient as the river. If you listen, you can almost hear it now, the steady pulse beneath centuries, the murmur of Latin softened by time, the heartbeat of human continuity. Rome was never just a place, it was a promise that from struggle can come order, from order, beauty, and from beauty, peace. So rest now. The journey is complete. The stones are cool, the air still. The lamps are almost out. The streets are cool. Somewhere, a fountain keeps its small promise to the night. Rome has folded its banners and set down its shields. Yet in ways quiet and countless, it moves within us still, in our laws, our letters, our roads, our rooms. If you are sleeping, sleep well. If you are listening, may the rest of your night be easy. Good night, from the eternal city.